welcome to your personalized deep dive. We're going on a journey together through Psicología Botánica by Sebastián Ravel.
Oh,
He
yeah.
shared this book with us, and we're really excited to dig into this unique blend of personal experiences, philosophical insights, and
Right.
reflections on consciousness.
Yeah. Ravel's journey is really quite fascinating. He
Mm.
challenges societal norms, explores the impact of marijuana on personal growth, and really dives deep into these thought-provoking concepts like, consciousness and the structures of society.
Yeah, definitely not your typical memoir. So
Hmm.
our mission today is to kind of uncover the most intriguing and thought-provoking ideas from his journey and to give you, a fresh perspective on his worldview.
Hmm.
Who knows? It might even spark some new ideas for you about life, consciousness, and all those like societal rules we often just take for granted.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's all about understanding Ravel's unique perspective and then using it as like a springboard for your own reflections.
I like that, a springboard. Okay, so Ravel kind of starts off with this really powerful paradox in the
Hmm.
prologue. This idea that we can create our own reality, yet still feel this like immense pressure to follow this predetermined path.
Right.
And he asks some really challenging questions right off the bat, like, what would you do if your life took a completely different turn from what was expected?
Yeah, and this isn't just some kind of abstract philosophical question.
Right.
Ravel actually faked his own death to break free from societal expectations. He throws us right into the deep end with this crazy story,
Wow.
which, as you can imagine, caused quite a stir in his family.
Oh, I bet. Talk about commitment to your ideals, huh? But I think what he's trying to show us is that there isn't one single right way to live. He suggests that happiness can be found by following your own path, even if it veers
Yeah.
like sharply from the one society has laid out for you.
Yeah, I think Ravel's point really resonates with this whole concept of societal programming that he explores throughout the book.
Right, okay.
He argues that we're often just unconsciously following a script that's handed down by society without ever questioning whether it truly aligns with our, deepest desires and values.
It's like we're all actors in a play, but we've never stopped to consider if we even want to play the role we've been given.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ravel's inviting us to step off the stage for a moment and examine the script, the set, and maybe even rewrite our own lines.
Exactly. And one of the tools Ravel explores for this kind of self-discovery is marijuana.
Oh, interesting.
He sees it as like a catalyst for introspection, a way to challenge those ingrained societal norms
Hmm.
and to confront aspects of ourselves that we might otherwise avoid.
He even talks about how he initially rejected marijuana because of all that societal conditioning, but then his curiosity ultimately led him to explore its effects.
Right.
It's like he had to break free from his own internal programming
Yeah.
before he could really experience its potential.
And that's a really crucial point. Ravel emphasizes the importance of intention when using marijuana. He believes that if you approach it with a desire for self-exploration and growth, it can be a really valuable tool.
Hmm.
But if you're just seeking escape or numbness, you're likely to miss out on its potential benefits.
It makes me think of those flight simulator games.
Mm.
They could mimic the experience of flying, but you weren't actually soaring through the sky.
Right.
Ravel's suggesting that marijuana can similarly mimic the experience of a higher consciousness, but the real work lies in integrating those insights and cultivating that awareness, organically.
Yeah, Ravel proposes that marijuana can offer these glimpses into a higher level of consciousness.
Okay.
He describes it as a state of expanded perception, enhanced senses, and even profound insights.
Wow.
But he makes it very clear that it's not a shortcut to enlightenment.
Right.
It's more like a temporary visa to this heightened state of awareness.
So it's more about using it as a tool to understand ourselves better, not to check out of reality.
Exactly. Yeah, Ravel believes that marijuana can help us confront those aspects of ourselves that we might otherwise avoid, like our fears, insecurities, and those limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
He argues that it can really quiet the ego's chatter and allow for deeper introspection and a greater connection to our intuition.
Ravel's own experiences with marijuana are really quite revealing.
Oh, yeah.
He shares some pretty personal anecdotes, including one where he's sharing a joint with his girlfriend. And the fallout from that experience is intense. It really highlights how marijuana use can challenge social norms and even strain relationships.
Absolutely. Ravel doesn't shy away from the challenges and consequences he faced because of, societal stigma around marijuana use.
Yeah.
Strained relationships, social isolation, even legal troubles.
Wow.
It really underscores the point that societal programming runs deep, and challenging those norms can have real-world consequences.
Yeah, for sure. But despite those difficulties, Ravel seems to believe that those experiences were essential to his personal growth.
Right.
It's like he's saying that sometimes you have to go against the grain, even if it means facing disapproval or isolation.
That's a powerful message, especially in a world that often pressures us to conform.
Yeah, for sure.
Ravel reminds us that true growth often requires courage, a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones, and a commitment to forging our own path, even when it's difficult.
Absolutely. Now, to kind of delve deeper into this idea of personal growth, Ravel introduces this really fascinating concept of 3 levels of consciousness.
Okay.
He believes that as we evolve, we kind of progress through these distinct stages of consciousness, each with its own, characteristics and limitations.
He describes the first level as being dominated by the ego,
Okay.
where we're constantly striving for, external validation and material success. It's a state of, constant striving, often fueled by fear and insecurity.
It sounds like that classic rat race that everybody talks about, constantly chasing after something just out of reach.
Exactly. Yeah, the second level marks a shift towards greater self-awareness.
Okay.
We start to question those societal norms, and we recognize the limitations of that first level's pursuit of external validation.
Yeah.
At this stage, we begin to seek a deeper meaning and connection in life.
So it's like waking up from that rat race and realizing there's more to life than just chasing material success.
Precisely. And then there's the third level,
Right.
which Ravel describes as a state of unity and interconnectedness. It's characterized by compassion, acceptance, and a deep understanding of the interconnected nature of all things.
Wow. It sounds almost like a state of enlightenment.
In a way, it is, Ravel suggests that reaching this third level requires a detachment from what he calls the collective consciousness and a connection to a universal frequency. It's about transcending the limitations of the ego and embracing a broader perspective of reality.
Wow. That's pretty mind-blowing. And where does marijuana fit into all of this?
All right.
Does Ravel believe it can help us move through these levels of consciousness?
That's exactly what we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, great.
Stay tuned to see how Ravel connects marijuana to this fascinating concept of levels of consciousness
Can't wait.
and what it means for your own personal journey.
All right. Looking forward to it.
As we kind of delve deeper into Psychologia Botánica, Ravel's exploration of these levels of consciousness becomes even more intriguing, especially when he connects it to his experiences with marijuana.
You're right. At the end of the last part, we were about to explore how Ravel sees marijuana as a potential tool for navigating these different levels of awareness.
Right. Ravel suggests that marijuana can, in a way, simulate the experience of those higher levels, offering a glimpse into a reality that might otherwise be hidden from our everyday perception.
So it's like getting a sneak peek behind the curtain of reality.
Exactly.
A taste of what's possible beyond our usual way of seeing things.
He compares it to, those old flight simulators. They could mimic the experience of flying, but you weren't actually soaring through the sky.
I remember those. I used to spend hours pretending to be a pilot.
Ravel argues that marijuana can work in a similar way. It can mimic the experience of a higher consciousness, expanding your perception, heightening your senses, even triggering profound insights. But the real journey lies in integrating those insights and cultivating that awareness organically.
So it's not about relying on marijuana as a permanent fix,
Right.
but rather using it as a tool to explore the potential of our own consciousness.
Exactly. Ravel emphasizes that marijuana is more like a temporary visa to this heightened state of awareness.
Okay.
You can experience it, learn from it, but ultimately the goal is to cultivate that awareness within yourself without needing the substance. It's about doing the inner work, not just taking a mental vacation.
That makes a lot of sense. He also stresses that the way you approach marijuana use really matters. It's all about intention.
Absolutely. If you approach marijuana with the intention of escaping reality or numbing yourself, you're likely to miss out on its potential benefits. But if you approach it with curiosity, with a genuine desire for self-exploration and understanding, then it can be a powerful tool for growth.
He even suggests that marijuana can help us confront those parts of ourselves that we might otherwise avoid. Our fears, our insecurities, those limiting beliefs that hold us back.
It's like marijuana shines a light on those dark corners of our psyche,
Right.
allowing us to see them more clearly and work through them.
This reminds me of Ravel's exploration of the ego and the heart.
Yes.
He talks about how those two forces are often at odds,
Mm-hmm.
influencing our decisions and perceptions in very different ways.
Exactly. Ravel believes that the ego, with its fear-based thinking and constant need for control,
Yeah.
often blocks us from accessing our true potential. But marijuana can help quiet that ego chatter, creating space for the heart's wisdom to emerge.
So it's like marijuana helps us tap into our intuition.
Right.
That deeper knowing that often gets drowned out by all the noise in our heads.
Ravel uses this metaphor of a theater to illustrate this dynamic between the ego and the heart.
Okay.
He describes life as this grand stage where we're all actors,
Right.
playing roles according to a script that's been handed to us.
And marijuana, in this analogy, allows us to step off the stage for a moment,
Yes,
go backstage, and see how the whole production works.
precisely. It helps us see the constructed nature of reality, the roles we play, the rules we follow, often unconsciously.
Right.
It allows us to question those roles, to challenge the script, and maybe even rewrite our own lines.
He even uses his experiences working in a restaurant as a microcosm of this theatrical analogy, right?
Yes, he describes the restaurant as a stage where the employees are the actors performing their roles for the dining audience.
Right.
He observed the power dynamics, the social hierarchies, the scripted interactions, all meticulously orchestrated to create a specific experience for the customers.
It makes you wonder how much of our lives are like that, following these unspoken scripts and playing roles that we haven't consciously chosen.
Ravel suggests that society operates in a similar way, with prescribed roles, social expectations, and power structures that influence our behavior and interactions.
It's a bit unsettling when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, we're all just playing parts in a grand illusion.
But Ravel doesn't leave us in a state of disillusionment.
Okay.
He reminds us that we have the power to choose how we play our roles. We can challenge the script, improvise, even rewrite the narrative altogether.
Right.
We're not just puppets on strings.
Oh.
We have agency. We can choose to play the game consciously or even step off the stage entirely.
This is where his concept of synchronicity comes in, right?
Yeah.
This idea that there's a deeper intelligence at play,
Exactly.
guiding us toward our true purpose.
Ravel suggests that we can tap into a deeper level of awareness, a sort of universal intelligence
Okay.
that orchestrates events and guides us toward our true purpose. He describes synchronicity as those meaningful coincidences that seem to align perfectly to reveal a hidden order in our lives.
Yeah.
He believes these aren't just random events, but rather guideposts on our journey.
He shares some pretty incredible anecdotes from his own life, these coincidences that seem too perfect to be random.
Right.
Like the events surrounding his move to the United States
Yeah.
and the people he encountered along the way.
Precisely. He sees those synchronicities as signs from the universe,
Oh, okay.
opportunities for growth and expansion. He challenges us to pay attention to those seemingly chance encounters,
Right.
those unexpected turns of events, because they might be more than just random occurrences.
Like there's an invisible hand guiding us if we're open to seeing it.
And Ravel suggests that marijuana can enhance our sensitivity to these synchronicities,
Oh, interested.
to become more aware of the interconnectedness of all things and see those patterns and connections that might otherwise go unnoticed.
So marijuana, in a way, helps us tune into that deeper intelligence that's always operating behind the scenes.
That's a great way to put it. But he also cautions against relying solely on marijuana for this awareness.
Right.
He emphasizes that the ultimate goal is to cultivate that sensitivity within ourselves,
Okay.
to become masters of our own consciousness without needing external crutches.
It's about using marijuana as a tool for exploration, a catalyst for growth, but not a replacement for doing the inner work required to truly awaken to our full potential.
Now, while Ravel sees marijuana as a potential tool for personal growth, he doesn't shy away from the challenges and consequences he faced because of the societal stigma surrounding its use.
Right.
He's very open about the negative impacts he experienced, strained relationships, social isolation, even legal troubles.
It's a reminder that challenging social norms, even in the pursuit of something positive, can sometimes come at a cost.
He talks about how his marijuana use created misunderstandings and conflicts with loved ones who didn't share his perspective.
Right.
He even describes feeling like an outsider, ostracized for his choices.
It must have been really difficult to navigate those social and personal challenges,
Yeah,
especially when he felt that his marijuana use was contributing to his personal growth.
absolutely. And Ravel's honesty about those challenges adds another layer of depth to his story. It
Hmm.
highlights the complexities of choosing a path that diverges from the mainstream,
Right.
even when you believe it's the right path for you.
It also reminds us that we need to be mindful of the potential impact our choices can have on those around us,
Yeah.
especially when those choices challenge deeply held beliefs and social norms.
Ravel's story illustrates the importance of finding your tribe,
Right.
those people who resonate with your values and support your journey, even if it diverges from the mainstream.
He also doesn't shy away from discussing the potential downsides of marijuana use,
Right.
particularly the risk of dependency and the importance of using it responsibly.
Mm.
He even shares his own struggles with dependency, acknowledging that marijuana, while potentially beneficial, can also become a crutch if not approached with awareness and moderation.
He presents marijuana as a sort of paradox, a substance that can both elevate and enslave, depending on how it's used and the intention behind it.
Yeah.
It's a nuanced perspective that acknowledges both the potential benefits and the potential risks.
It's a reminder that we need to be honest with ourselves about our relationship with any substance,
Yeah.
even one that's often touted for its positive effects. It's about understanding that moderation and intention are key.
Exactly. And Ravel's honesty about his own struggles makes his message even more powerful.
Right.
He's not just preaching from a pedestal, he's
Mhm.
sharing his own journey, warts and all,
Yeah.
to show us that growth isn't always a linear upward trajectory.
Okay.
There are often bumps along the way, setbacks and challenges that we need to navigate.
It's a much more relatable and authentic message than simply presenting a romanticized version of personal growth.
Absolutely. And as we move toward the final part of our deep dive, I think it's important to remember that Ravel's exploration of marijuana is ultimately just one aspect of a much larger journey.
Right.
His story is ultimately about self-discovery,
Yeah.
about challenging societal norms,
Mm-hmm.
and about exploring the vast potential of the human mind.
So even if someone isn't interested in exploring marijuana,
Right.
there's still a lot to glean from Ravel's story about personal growth, consciousness, and the power of choosing your own path.
Precisely. And as we transition to the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave you with this question to ponder. What does Ravel's willingness to challenge both internal and external norms tell us about the human capacity for transformation?
It's a question that invites us to reflect on our own journeys, our own potential for growth, and the power we have to shape our own reality.
Right.
Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore these ideas even further. So we've been unpacking some really heavy ideas from Psicología Botánica, like societal programming and the
Yeah.
power of our own consciousness.
Yeah, and in this last part of our deep dive, I think it's worth circling back to this idea of societal programming that Ravel keeps coming back to.
Okay.
He's really trying to show us how much it shapes our thoughts, our behaviors,
Right.
and even how we see reality. Like, we're all operating on this pre-installed operating system, but we've never stopped to consider if it's even the right one for us.
Yeah. He argues that we often mistake these ingrained societal beliefs and values for our own. We've internalized them so deeply that we don't even question them.
And Ravel suggests that these programs can actually limit our potential, keep us stuck in these cycles of fear,
Right.
conformity, and ultimately dissatisfaction.
Yeah, it's like we're living someone else's life instead of our own.
Right, exactly.
Ravel challenges us to become aware of these programs running in the background of our minds, to question their validity,
Okay.
and to actually rewrite the code if necessary.
Wow. He advocates for a kind of mental deprogramming, a liberation from the constraints of societal conditioning.
That's powerful. It makes me think about all those times in my life when I've felt pressured to conform, to follow a path that wasn't really true to myself.
Yeah, I think we've all had those moments.
Right.
Ravel's point is that we have more agency than we realize. We can choose to question those programs,
Okay.
to rewrite the scripts that have been handed to us,
Right.
and to create a reality that aligns with our true nature.
And this is where Ravel's exploration of marijuana kind of comes full circle. He suggests that marijuana can help us temporarily suspend those programmed thought patterns,
Okay.
allowing us to see beyond the limitations of our conditioned minds.
It's like marijuana glitches the system,
Right.
giving us a glimpse of what's possible outside the confines of our usual operating system.
So it's not about using marijuana to escape, but to explore those different possibilities, to see what's beyond the boundaries of our, programmed reality.
Exactly. He argues that these glimpses, these altered states of perception,
Yeah.
can be incredibly valuable for personal growth.
So,
They can help us identify those outdated programs, to question our deeply held beliefs,
right.
and to open ourselves up to new ways of thinking and being.
But as he stresses throughout the book, intention is everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about relying on marijuana to do the work for you, but rather using it as a tool to facilitate your own exploration and growth.
Now, shifting gears a bit,
Great.
Ravel also delves into the topic of depression, a subject he approaches with a lot of honesty and vulnerability.
Yes, he talks about his own experiences with depression in a way that feels very raw and real.
Yeah.
It's definitely not your typical self-help approach to the topic.
He describes depression as this, unwelcome guest that would often show up, even during his happiest moments.
Right.
He doesn't sugarcoat it.
But he also doesn't let it define him.
I found it really refreshing that he didn't frame depression as a weakness or something to be ashamed of.
Exactly. Ravel suggests that depression, while often seen as negative, can actually be a catalyst for growth.
Okay.
He sees it as an invitation to examine our lives more deeply, to question our assumptions,
Okay.
and to really get to know ourselves on a deeper level.
It's almost like depression is this messenger, albeit a rather gloomy one, trying to tell us that something needs to change. That we need to pay attention to a part of ourselves that's been neglected or ignored.
He even talks about the importance of befriending our depression,
Oh,
engaging with it in a way that allows us to learn from it without being consumed by its darkness.
that's a really interesting concept. It's like he's saying that instead of trying to fight or suppress our depression, we can try to understand it, to learn from it.
And maybe even use its energy to fuel our growth.
Precisely. He encourages us to approach depression with curiosity and compassion, to listen to its message, and to use its energy as a catalyst for transformation.
Okay.
It's about finding the light within the darkness, the opportunity for growth within the struggle.
Ravel's perspective on depression is really empowering. It's not about pretending it doesn't exist, but rather about reframing it as a potential teacher,
Yeah.
a catalyst for deeper self-understanding.
And he also emphasizes the importance of reaching out for support when facing depression,
Right.
connecting with others who understand the experience and can offer guidance and encouragement. He reminds us that we don't have to go through it alone.
That's a really crucial message, especially given how isolating depression can be.
Now, as we bring our deep dive into Psicología Botánica to a close, I think it's important to remember that this is just a glimpse into the rich tapestry of Ravel's journey and his unique perspective on life.
This book is packed with so many thought-provoking ideas about consciousness, societal structures, personal growth, and the power of questioning the status quo.
Ravel's story reminds us that we have the power to create our own reality, to challenge those limiting beliefs and societal programs that hold us back,
Right.
and to step into a life that is more aligned with our true nature.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring these ideas,
Yeah.
and I have a feeling we'll be revisiting them long after we finish this deep dive.
As Ravel himself puts it, if our reality is truly a construct, as I suggest, what power do we have to reshape it, with or without the aid of substances like marijuana?
That's such a powerful question. It really challenges us to think about the role we play in shaping our own reality.
Yeah.
And to embrace the infinite possibilities that exist when we step outside the limitations of our conditioned minds.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
We hope it sparked your own curiosity and inspired you to explore the vast landscape of your own consciousness.
And remember, as Ravel reminds us, the journey of self-discovery is an ongoing adventure, filled with twists, turns, and unexpected revelations.
Right.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep creating the reality you desire.